episode of the Photography Mindset Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ed Macy.
I'm your co-host, Aaron Manis.
Today, what we're going to do is we have a listener email that we're going to dissect. And we're going to read it sentence by sentence. It's not too short and not too long. And we're going to have some jumping off points. And we're going to share our opinions of how we can maybe help this person's predicament, scenario, whatever you want to call it. Because usually I find if one person is struggling in an area, that means 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 people are feeling the same way or in a variety of that way. So maybe an episode like this will be very helpful. And this was actually an email that he gave me permission to say his name, Gabriel Mirsch. I think that's his handle as well, Gabriel_Mirsch on Instagram. Gave me permission to go through this. So thank you very much, Gabriel. And he sent me this email before doing a one-on-one, which we've been promoting a lot lately. Just another reminder, in case you've forgotten, you can book a free 30-minute one-on-one session with Aaron or myself for one-time only use. That's 30 minutes entirely for free, where you can hear our perspectives on a scenario you're going through, an issue you're having, or if you want an outside opinion on how to get to where you want to go with your camera and your craft. So link to that is in the episode description. Make sure you utilize that. No strings attached. Seriously. And should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let's start the email again. Thank you, Gabriel, for this. So, hey, Seth, thank you for your clarification. I'm looking forward to our call in a couple hours. And be sure to stop me when you want to. You know what? I'm going to pause because I think I know you well enough to know when you're going to want to say something.
Okay.
I think I know you. Okay, let's see if I'm right. So he says, I know it's a little late. Here's my current problems in quotations, with photography. I am working as a mechanical engineer 4 days a week. It's a brilliant craft. Engineers are very unique people. And I say that with all sincerity, which can be really exhausting from time to time, no doubt. As a side hustle, I have a photography business, which is all about wedding photography. Excuse me throughout this. I think Gabriel's German or Austrian or something like that. So his English is extremely good, but I just need to kind of paraphrase at times. I've been doing wedding photography for the last 6 years, and so far it has done really amazing things for my craft. I can work under high pressure. My workflow is dialed in well on the shoot and after the shoot, and I have my dream camera set up. But lately I feel like the passion isn't there anymore. At least not in the amount it used to be. And now I'm struggling to find my future path with photography. I know you're going to say something, Aaron, about the passion going away.
Yeah, you were wrong. I wanted a little more.
I'm going to give you more.
To put a bow on the whole first act.
Going to give you more. About 3 or 4 years ago, I discovered film photography. I fell in love with it right away. It's always nice when you find something that you love and there's that passion phase right out of the gate, especially this year because I started to develop and scan my black and white and color work at home. And now I'm shooting around 1 to 2 rolls of film every single week, which is a lot of fun for me, and it's helped me refine my craft with an exclamation mark. I've also tried some portrait work on film, but I realized that my current approach with portrait photography doesn't really need that, quote, film factor. Clients like the results, but they really couldn't care less if it's shot on film or on digital. So at the moment, I'm really drawn to the artistic side of photography. I have myself a professional printer. I maybe want to start a dark room in the upcoming winter. I feel like the passion for my film photography is huge. I do some free print drops from time to time on my Instagram, and people love it, which feels amazing. Here's the problem. ... There's not really much money in this field. I think I would say limiting belief, at least for now and for the upcoming future. On the other hand is my wedding photography. There's a good amount of money to be made, and the money funds my film photography journey and the gear needs that I have for my digital camera setup. This wouldn't be that bad, but I have to factor in the limited time that I have. It feels like the wedding photography and film photography are constantly fighting each other for my attention. Wedding photography on the one hand has an okay amount of passion, but a great amount of money. And on the other hand, I have a ton of passion for film photography and not really much money that I feel I can keep going with this. So my question is, how can I fit all of this into my daily life? What is worth keeping and what can I let go of? How can I grow my art and passion side of photography without running completely out of time or going broke? Best regards, Gabriel. So I gave you the full act.
Yeah. Well, I think that helps to paint the whole picture and gives me
Sure.
the and now we can cut it back and maybe you can reference certain things if we get into it. But overall thought and overall
Yeah.
feel was if we zoom out, Gabriel, if we zoom out to your life, what you've just described to me is a very full, well-rounded, robust life. You have a career, a very, you know, honorable career. It's not the easiest thing to do. Lots of education, lots of smarts, math smarts, a great engineering brain. So you have that. You have that 4 times a week. You've created a section of your photography that pays really well. That's not easy to do for a lot of people. So you have this, and then you have this other aspect of photography that is passionate and maybe artistic and really massages that creative need that you have, and you love that artistic side of it, and that's really exciting. And it might be a little bit because it's relatively new comparatively. Uh, that could become a grind too if that was your sole source of income, and maybe the occasional wedding would feel like a relief. So if you zoom out and you have all of these aspects, you have a pretty full plate and life in a good sense, I would say, just as a general sort of observation of like, there's probably a lot of people listening. I think it's important to know there's probably a lot of people listening going like, "Oh man, lucky you. Like you've got a
Huh.
full-time job and you have a successful, well-paying wedding business with photography, and you have time to get into film and make a dark room in your house and probably the engineering skills to create that and make that your own." Like that, if you zoom out, I bet there's a lot of people going like, "Wow, uh, very successful. Don't change a thing. Keep going." You know? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that's my first overall maybe reframing of the problem. But I'm not going to dismiss that there are a lot of good, poignant questions in terms of which way do we go.
Is that your
That's my
dog howling?
Yeah. I don't know if he agrees with what I'm saying. He's whining. He's like, I don't know,
It
man.
wouldn't be a
I feel
do-it-yourself podcast if
sad.
you didn't have an animal
I
whining from
feel
time to time.
sad.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
okay, Cap.
it would
I'll get
not.
to the bottom of this.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom. It's like, Dad, hurry up, please. Um, but I'll leave it at that for my initial sort of reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had the luxury of already speaking with Gabriel. So I'm going to provide you with maybe some supplementary content.
Mhm.
So when we were chatting, we came to the conclusion that the part of the reason the wedding photography was starting to lose the passion was because it became routine. It became standard operating procedure, autopilot syndrome, some of the stuff we talk about. And we've all been there, right? Where you start to feel like you're going through the motions. The money is great. I think I've described this one a little while ago in a few episodes back where I've been talking about editing photos, stills, right? Where I know my workflow and I know how I like to move the sliders to get a look. And I felt that the passion just wasn't there to edit photos anymore. And so we came to the conclusion that when this person is challenged, when there's acute stress in a situation, that's where the excitement comes from, which some people may be able to understand, and other people may think that sounds totally contrast to how they would operate. But in this particular scenario, Gabriel said, I feel like when I'm challenged and there's a little bit of stress, it's more exciting and there's more passion. So we chatted about ways, and maybe this is applicable for people who feel like they're going through the motions, they've lost the fire for something they once did. I'm speaking from experience. You have to find a way to up the ante, to find a way to make the thing that you're currently doing that you want the passion back in. How can I make this much more difficult on purpose? So for me, it was one of the things was instead of pitching clients on, I'll do your photos for you, it's I'll do videos for you, knowing farewell that I was a rookie with video. Still would consider myself very green with videography. But now on set in the field, there's a stress to perform, which is more exciting. I'm more engaged. I'm more focused on what I'm doing. I'm more intentful. I have more intent. And personally, for me, I felt much more excited being behind the lens. Can you relate?
Yeah, I just had to unmute myself from my cough attack earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, I can relate. I, I think you hit a bunch of points there. I think number one, finding what burns internally for you is important, whether it's a little bit of stress, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of newness. I think finding that is important and understanding that that does fade. Life is long. It's like there's also a craft and a discipline in finding the best out of the mundane. There's also a craft in pushing yourself when you don't have that quote unquote internal steroid to jack you up and make you get out of bed. Starting a new workout routine is really fun for the first month. And then do you fall back to, nah, that's hard, or it's not that
Or
exciting anymore,
boring. Yeah.
or boring, or what have you? I don't know. I think there's merit to that. I think there's merit to really finding out what part am I missing with the wedding stuff. So it's routine. It's the same old thing. Maybe I can't make mistakes. These are high end clients. Maybe it's I don't know what the price range is in weddings, but maybe I'm in the upper average in terms of what I'm getting paid to create this thing. You don't want to mess with that. Maybe take on some weddings that are very low budget that give you the freedom to be super creative and take chances
Mm.
and kind of wing it and be really artistic, and you have the argument on your side of like, hey, you hired a budget photographer, like this is this is what you get in a sense.
Mhm.
Or doing a family friend, or doing someone's wedding for cheap, doing and trying to try out new things. I'm thinking music. I'm thinking bands sometimes when, Dave Matthews is playing in my state today, and he's been playing the same songs for 25 years. At some point that must get, and certain songs probably more than others, like, I do not want to play this, but the crowd wants it or whatever. I got to go through the routine. Bands add, we're going to jam here, we're going to medley into this other famous song, we're going to do certain things to probably just liven it up and keep it less ritual, less mundane. Got to try different things. And
Yeah.
maybe it's one shot per wedding where you're like, hey, I'm going to try to replicate this shot I saw, or try something really new with a weird lens filter, or whatever it may be. Or maybe I'm a photographer. I promise zero video. Maybe I'm gonna give them a couple of reels for their social media as a
Mhm.
as a bonus. I'm gonna add something to keep it interesting, keep the fire going, to just spice it up a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, so we were talking about how can we make your routine at this point steps more stressful?
Mhm.
And I think you brought up, you actually said something pretty interesting. You can induce stress by making your prices double what they usually are.
Mhm.
Now there's a whole new factor to perform, right? If you're charging double,
Yeah.
there's a very slim margin for error. That's stress. I
Yeah.
also, being totally ignorant with the cost of film, was like, why don't you offer packages on your website? And hear all the wedding photographers, if there's any listening, screaming at me because two wildlife landscape commercial guys talking about wedding photography. We realize, don't worry,
Yeah.
we're more macro concept people. I suggested, what if you offered an entire package that was like all film? Everything I deliver to you is film. I shoot your whole wedding film. You can always scan those photos, right? If you wanted them digital.
Yeah.
But what a risk. You can't look at playback.
Right.
And I got some pushback saying, well, like people, like in the email, people really don't care. They don't care if it's artsy and film. Maybe that's the case. But I would also argue there would be maybe a very small niche of people out there who would say, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It was all done on an old style of camera.
Yeah. I think that's an idea. I think
But then, sorry to interrupt, he was like,
yeah.
do you know how much that would cost me to have all that developed? I was like, no, I don't. He says, a lot. I said, okay.
No, I do not.
Now you have to charge a ton.
Yeah.
Now you're introducing pressure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe that's exciting.
It certainly would be. I don't think brides and grooms are people I'd wanna mess up with on their big day.
Oh God,
Uh,
I won't go anywhere near that genre.
but I do think I think there's lots of things we can do. We can also just again, we can reframe the entire package of Seth, you love hockey. You grew up loving hockey.
Yeah.
What was your favorite, most passionate part about the entire sport? Is it the ice skating? Was it the win? Was it scoring a goal? Was it a great pass? What is the most the sound of a puck off the stick? I don't know. Like what's the moment that gave you the most oh, I love this sport.
That's interesting. That question would be different for everybody. For me,
Of course.
like with all sports, with all team sports, there's so many different moving parts, right? And everybody is thinking their own vision of what's about to happen based on where they are on the field, rink, etc. And I feel like when all that comes together fluidly and creatively in a way that was planned and practiced and exercised over and over again,
Mhm.
ending up as like a puck in the net, that's super cool. And it's especially good when you're the one who like puts it home.
Yeah,
Everyone comes
so
over and
execution as a team,
creativity,
coming
having a
up
vision and a plan and executing it, winning.
yeah,
Winning is fun because it validates your effort.
right, and that's all the game. Now, what's the least enjoyable part about hockey? All the way
Oh,
from 5 o'clock skate times to certain drills, like, lunges, suicides, like, whatever line to lines, we can't say suicides anymore, line to lines, whatever those drills are, the ones that absolutely you're like, "Oh my I can't do
mm.
this." What's that aspect?
The worst part for me is the counter of everything I've just described. So much effort, working so hard, those hard skates, like you just mentioned, maybe playing really well and still registering a loss or making an error that lets the team down or getting reamed out by a coach in front of people is not fun. I don't know if I'm setting up where you're trying to go with this, but I'm being honest.
Yeah. And even let's go more micro. Like I want exact things. Like I don't really want to be doing this right now.
Well, I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. puking my guts out skating.
Okay, thank you. That makes it perfect, my setup.
Okay.
And that getting up and puking at 6 a.m. is what makes the other end of that desire and passion possible, right? Like that part of hockey, you can't have the one without the other sometimes. You can't have those successful moments, those feelings of your heart is full, gratitude for the sport, gratitude for film, the creativity, the whole process, maybe without making ends meet in the wedding arena. Like
Hmm.
maybe it's just one and the same. Weddings is the part of this that allows me to do this. Just as engineering is a part of it that allows you to do certain things in life as well.
Hmm.
And if you look at it all as like a biosphere, an environment where it's sort of a symbiotic relationship between each element, they're all feeding each other.
Hmm.
And sometimes I think it's hard to say, or it's like, be careful for what you wish for. We've talked about that too. Like, take everything away. All right, man, I'm going to give you your chance. Go make a life out of just doing film. How quickly does that passion become, this is a pain in the ass?
That's a
And,
good question.
it's not as easy as I thought it would be. It's not as fun as I thought it would be grinding and doing it all the time. It's fun because I can only do it once a week.
Mm.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder in a sense. When you have a wedding every weekend, it's like, oh, this is good money, but you almost take it for granted. If someone took all those weddings away and said, hey man, you're canceled. You're out of the wedding business and wherever we live, you're out of it. I bet you'd be like, oh shit. I wish I had that back.
Yeah, or you took a year hiatus.
Yeah. Take a break.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we spoke too. He doesn't need the wedding photography to pay bills. It's one of the things he mentioned was I really love connecting with people. I love being the person that is responsible for their face lighting up when they see their images and capturing a moment in time that for them is the most important day of their life. He likes being a part of that. So it's not I need the money. It's that I want to do this. And since I am not relying on the funds, I want it to be as fun and as exciting as possible. And I think what you're saying is really important. It's let's zoom out. Let's be grateful. I'm not saying he's not, but let's
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
practice that. Let's see what we have, see what it's allowing us to do. And back to the start of your discussion, there may maybe lots of people listening be like, "Wow, you have a really well-rounded life." It's a good problem to have. This this email, right? We
Right.
love good problems. So it's zooming out, being grateful for all that stuff, but not being apathetic. Also, it's okay to want more despite that, is what I'm saying. Like, it's okay to recognize that you maybe are in a better position than some other people who may be going through a difficult time or don't have the same opportunities that you do, but it's still okay to want more. I think sometimes we can feel guilty for that. Like, my life isn't as bad as some people's, and there's so many things going right for me. Why do I feel so bad that I want more? Am I
Mhm.
am I am I greedy? I'm speaking for myself right now. I
Mhm.
have this thought a lot of the time. Am I is it wrong for me to want so much more when so much is already great? And so it's this balance of being grateful for those things and giving myself permission, and it's okay to want to strive for bigger, better experiences. I
Yeah.
hope that makes sense.
It does. And if you're truly passionate about film photography, figure out a way to incorporate it or make it work. Like give it a go. Do it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, so we
Charge.
talked about that too. We talked about so he has a very modest following on Instagram, and we talked about how so he had been going for a little while, making the reels, posting routinely, doing all that stuff. that people do to blow up their account. And I think we talked about, is that realistically sustainable? And to your point that you always bring up, it's taking you away from doing the actual thing a lot of the time. But he does these print giveaways that people buy the film prints, and it's exciting and validating, which is really nice. And going back to a couple episodes ago, we've talked about ways that you can fill your buckets outside of the digital realm in the real world. We talked about how, do a gallery, go to restaurants and hang your stuff up. You're doing Instagram in the physical world.
Yeah.
I think that's always a good thing for people to try. It gets you out of your comfort zone. It puts your work on display, which you are doing on Instagram. It just makes it real, and people get to celebrate your work in the flesh. And you get to fill that bucket of people appreciating it for real.
Yeah, I remember talking to Seth. Seth had done a showing and a gallery at some point, and I don't remember. It might have given me the idea, or our schedule just aligned. And he made a comment that was like that stuck with me. That was just, hey, I've never seen someone look at my photo and stare at it while I'm in the room, and they don't know that I took it, and they're like pointing things out and liking it, and how cool that was, surreal that was. And maybe a week, maybe a month, I don't remember. It was years ago, but I remember messaging you and being like, dude, I just had that moment at this coffee shop where my stuff was up, and people like, writing down my Instagram and then following me. Like I was watching it in full time as I was two tables down, and they had no idea who I was or that I was even there, and liking photos. And it was just a very cool, very real moment, and a different feeling than getting a 1,000 likes on a photo on Instagram. It was one person actually watching them like my photo in real life. And it's just, that's a thing, that's a moment I won't forget in terms of real connection. I think
I
social
was
media
going to
is
say, it's
great
real
for
connection.
connection. It's great for connection. It's great for meeting people on a sometimes deep level, but mostly superficial surface level, mostly because of the vastness of it. Uh, but I think there's something lost. We get used to that overall, that sort of surface feel, when there is this whole depth of, there's restaurants down the street, there's coffee galleries down the street where you can actually go in and have to talk to someone and put in some effort, make some prints, make some decisions, say, I'm going to print out some things. What would I be proud of in my house? What would I want to
Yeah, how
see?
did you decide what you were going to print? I think a lot of people are interested in this topic. How do I go about starting this? And once I've picked a venue that I would like to be in, what do I print? What sizes? How do I know? What should my intent be? Should my intent be just to have it up? Should I have expectations to sell, etc.?
I have a few thoughts. I've learned a lot in this just by trial and error. I think it depends on the place. Number one, sometimes you can be collaborative. When I was at the restaurant down the street, I sent them a folder of seasonal ideas that I thought would go well, and kind of collaborated in terms of what they liked. When I was ready to do a bulk printing, I've also, along the years, collected certain things that I'm super proud of. Now, things that I'm super proud of don't necessarily make good wall art. And I
So
think,
important to say that.
yes, I think
We're gonna get
that
into that.
I'm gonna lift this frame down.
Okay.
This is my best selling picture. And by best selling,
Oh,
I
I wanted
mean,
to guess before you brought it down.
go ahead.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Okay.
No.
Your best selling picture.
Yep, I've sold 4 to 6 copies of this print.
Is it a landscape or is it a wildlife photo?
I'm not telling.
Come on, give me a hint.
It's very much not my typical post. I'll give you that hint.
Is it on your Instagram?
Oh, might be way deep.
A
My
way
my
deep?
my arms are getting tired.
All right, bring it down.
All right. Can we see? Here, I'll
Oh,
back
I
it up.
wouldn't have guessed that. Yeah. Go to
It's a
YouTube to see it. I'll describe it for the visually impaired. It is has a foggy foreground. Looks like it was morning. It's a snowscape, soft snow on the ground. Tree
lone
with
tree.
no leaves, lone tree. Good depth of field.
That's it.
That's it.
Now, to me, I'm like, this is not what I'm into. This is boring.
Mhm.
But I printed that out once, or someone asked for it, then a second person asked for it, and I was like, huh,
Yep.
I'm gonna do this. This is also the piece that Birch Hill Tavern was like, we want to buy this and put this on our hostess stand.
And you're like,
So it's
what's
like,
going on? This is so boring.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a scene, and maybe there is a disconnect from like an emotional thing. If you have like a wolf, maybe I don't want to put a wolf in my living room that's beautiful, or a bear, or really bright colors, something that's more muted, maybe symmetrical, that just is kind of nice and makes
Or it's
someone go
so
like, huh,
generic that I can interpret it as a place I've been, or it reminds me of a place.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you have Peyto Lake from Alberta, not many people are going to buy that. I'll tell you that.
Hmm. Right. So I think being wise with your prints, like remove the emotional connection to. I mean, my favorite shots ever are like some animal shots that took me a long time to get.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an emotional connection to like, this was freaking hard and I finally got that shot. But
Yeah.
no one necessarily cares about that. So it's like,
Yeah.
what's going to look good over their dining room table, or what's going to look good in their office, or
Right.
anything like that. So I think that's something to think about. And then I am always looking for. I never print anything without a sale. I just am patient and wait for a big sale, like on Whitewall, or any other printing company that we use, or anyone might
Oh, you
use.
mean your got it. You never
Yeah,
print without a sale, as in your provider.
provider, right? To me,
Yeah,
that's
we use
just
Whitewall. Use our Whitewall link.
it's smart business. If you get 20% off, 50% off, 30% off sometimes of a print, that's just margin in your pocket. And you're also not extending yourself too much. So I wait for really nice
Yeah.
sales like that and try to make some decent dents every once in a while.
I do that with my
And
calendar every year. I wait for Black Friday,
yeah,
60% off.
boom,
Yeah.
nail
And
it.
it's so, you have to be so patient because people now are they're promoting their calendars in like August for the next year. And I'm like, it's hard when people start moving. It's
It's
a
the new
domino
fall.
effect, right?
The new fall.
Yeah. So I sit there and I'm like, no, I'm going to wait for Black Friday. I'm going to wait for Black Friday.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. I like what you're saying. I do something similar. So I print over and over and over and over again prints that sell. And then I'll experiment with other ones that I think will sell. And the ones that I think will sell, my experimental pieces, I'm testing those online. So 500, I'll use 500px. Full disclosure, I'm an ambassador there, but I love the platform. That's why. So I'll post a photo on 500px and the pulse rating will be really high. And a lot of the time, the pulse rating equates to generic popularity. And it's more likely that I'll be able to sell that print. And it's a good way for me to objectively look at how a photo would be received by an audience. Because, like you were saying, you can be so excited about a picture. You know the amount of effort that went into it. It emotionally speaks to you. You're connected to it. You post it and it flops, and you get outraged. Oh, they don't know what I went through. People don't have no taste, and blah, blah, blah. It's their fault. You can go down that route. But when in the case of 500px, when I post a photo and it has a great pulse rating, oftentimes I wasn't expecting it. I'm like, oh, really? This did really well? I would have never thought. And that just removes me emotionally from the scenario, and I can objectively look at the photo as something that will probably do well on other social media platforms and that I could probably print and sell
Yeah.
for the most part. And then other times there'll be stuff that I think is great and nothing. It flops. A great example of this. So I have an in-tight photo of a wolf pup from my time in Manitoba. And people are listening are like, that sounds so awesome. Like, that's so cool. But when you post it, there's no, other than if you can caption it, there's no context for it. People just think, oh, it's like a dog. Or are you at a dog park? People don't like get what it is. Meanwhile, I was there. I know the pack of 14 wolves that's behind it. I hear the howling. I know all the stuff. And for me, it's like, how could people not love this? For others who haven't had that experience, it's just maybe a dog that looks like a wolf. So maybe something you don't print.
Right.
If your intent is to sell, that is. Whereas I have a picture of a maple leaf floating in the water that took me 2 seconds to photograph. And it reminds people of fall. It's simple, rich color. They want it on their wall. Do I care?
No.
Like whether I like it or not. If the intent is to generate income, obviously the sweet spot is I love this photo and other people do too. That's when it's the best. Right. So for me, going back to the start, the photo that will sell for me over and over and over again is 2 baby great horned owls. And I just print it, sell it, because I'm a resident in an art gallery in Bancroft, Ontario. Sell it, print another one, hang it up. Sell it, print another one, hang it up. And I'll just do that because my goal there is to generate passive income. And then my other spots in that gallery, I'll put stuff up like a wolf picture or a landscape that I haven't tried. And it's a way for me to build my roster of pieces that I know are popular and will sell. Because if it sells once, it'll sell twice.
Yeah, that is. Those are all good thoughts. And then my last thought on this topic would be, and it's the last in terms of priority as well, is there a place in my house or office or at work where I would want to hang this or be okay hanging it? Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't sell, I don't want to just throw it in the attic or throw it in the garage. I want to know, like, if this doesn't sell or it's on my website or at a gallery, when it's done, I'm going to put it right here and it'll be here and I'll enjoy looking at it myself.
What's your pricing strategy in 2 to 3 sentences?
2 to 3 sentences. One sentence. Standard base pricing is double what printing would cost.
I do triple.
I typically print on metals. It's pretty expensive as is.
Me too. So, I think I'm just a better photographer than you.
Probably. Sometimes I think making outrageous prices, there's a conspicuous consumption. That's a term for that, where it's like, oh, this was $10,000.
Louis Vuitton.
I have to get it. Right. Yeah. So there are certain things. My Fox photo with the mom and the pup, that to me portrays like amazing emotion and a story and a narrative, and also was really hard for me to get. I am okay not parting with that metal print. It's in my house and it's like my first golden star moment in photography. So the price tag on that is more than usual if there is some sort of feelings behind it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Hang your work.
Yeah.
Hang your work. I think that's a really good way to get out of a comfort zone. It's going back to what you said when people stare at your work. People also look at your work for 2 seconds and walk past it because it has no impact on them. That's sometimes hard to watch.
Yeah.
Just like imagine watching thousands of people scroll on their phone, see your photo, and just not even spend a quarter of a second on it, which is happening all the time to you. Now go have that happen to you in real life.
Didn't there used to be a dislike
on YouTube?
Thumbs down.
I think there was on Facebook way back in the day too, but I can't remember.
I think there was.
Now you can just put the sad, angry face.
But yeah, in
watching
real life, someone just glance by your stuff. I usually follow them out to the parking lot and beat the living crap out of them.
Yeah. And then you put the
Picture in
print
their
in their
face.
car.
Yep. I'm gonna
You
say
steal their
you bought
phone. You
this now.
follow your page.
Yeah. Like everything all the
That'll
way through.
teach you.
Uh-huh.
Come back again.
And he's like, I'm hard of seeing. I'm blind. I didn't even know there was art up. And you're like, I'm sorry. But
What were some other topics in this email? Did we cover it?
I think we covered it. I think again, balance. I think this is your life right now. Rebalance, restructure, maybe a little bit. Maybe to Seth's point, maybe charge. Let's say you charged $5,000 for a wedding photography gig. Why not charge 10?
Charge 10. Yep.
You might get half as much business, but maybe the same amount of net or close to it. And then you have more time to do the things that you want to do.
And you have more pressure.
Yeah, more pressure, and it'll give you more space to miss it a little bit. I think that is that's key to probably every relationship. Yeah,
Yeah, space is really important.
definitely.
I find it so interesting. I think you and I were talking about this. Was it 2 days ago? We were going back and forth in text when people are outraged when their photo doesn't perform because like Instagram didn't feed it to people because they feel like it's like their best work ever. This is my greatest work ever.
Yeah,
No,
it's a
it's
whole
probably
nother
not.
topic. It's a
It's a
whole
whole
nother
other
topic.
topic.
But yeah,
I wonder if people know the post we're talking about. It's funny.
I don't know. But that one irked both of us, and we went off. I like when Seth and I kind of go back and forth with just a philosophy session or a mental psychology session. Yeah, of like what's going on here? Is this healthy? Please punch me in the face if I ever do this. But yeah, I don't know. That goes into a lot of other things, but accountability and pushing yourself, and also it's like way too much stock in a social media platform.
Yeah.
Don't we know by now we can't figure out the algorithm. We go nuts figuring out about what time of day to post, when to post, what hashtag. Like, who knows if it's your photo that was good or Instagram's trying something. Like, or maybe you're
imagine being outraged.
maybe
Why didn't Instagram send this? Like, this is my best work ever. How do they not know that? Like, you have to be psychotic.
Yeah. And I would go, is it though? Is it
though? That's so important. Like, having detachment emotionally from your photo when you press post will bring you peace. Because just because you like it, because you think it's so good, does not mean other people think it is good. It is art at the end of the day.
I've always said that there is a big difference between a photo and the photography experience. What makes a good photo versus the experience behind it can be very different things. Right?
Yeah.
I could go to the zoo and come out with bangers. But
people would love and not know.
Because they would be good photos.
Yeah.
And that is what Instagram is essentially judging. Not too many people go much deeper and go, well, where did this photo come from? How did he obtain this photo? What gear did he use? They just go, good tiger, boom, and move on. Right?
It's great.
That tiger's nice looking. I like it. And they move on to whatever else is next. They're not like, hey, there's no tigers in Connecticut.
There's a zoo.
No one takes that much time to do it. So the idea is it's actually a tell. And for that person that was like, this is my best work, I'd argue, well, the internet says it's not.
Yeah, from a photo standpoint, it's not. Your experience may have been wonderful and so emotionally fulfilling, but
charged and embedded.
Yeah. and on a personal level, to the point where the photo not doing well was a personal attack. So much so that you have to blame the platform for not seeing your greatness. That's an interesting complex.
Yeah. And one step further, if we're just being honest, calling the platform racist because it didn't like the subjects of the photo.
Yeah.
Like, that's some,
You
you're
don't need
really,
that on your you don't need that in your life. You don't need that in your feed as like as like a person watching that.
yeah.
You know? You don't need that. Find peace in your life.
But hey,
Find peace.
who knows the whole story, and we're just judging the caption and whatnot. But
That's fine. And that's not fine. And we're not saying who the person is, which is fine.
no,
But
yeah.
you and I saw that and we're like, whoa, like, whoa. And that I said to you, the scarier thing is the comments agreeing. Like, you're
Yeah.
right. I was like, I think I said to you, I said, have we all lost our mind?
Yeah.
Like, are we all sick?
Yeah. A good proportion.
If you're
Good
on YouTube
proportion.
right now, you can see my face. It's stuck. Yeah.
We all sick. Yeah,
Oh,
good
no.
proportion just feeds the echo that you, because I just want to be in good graces. It just cycles down. It exponentially grows. The more people, this is this fake sense of like fame in a way. But then there's the contrarian comment every once in a while that was like, actually, this works pretty mid, bro. Like just out of the blue. And you're like, all right, at least someone's like speaking their mind. But also, like, you have to respond also, like, doesn't anyone have work? Does anyone have a job? That's why I don't get this whole.
Meanwhile, we spent 20 minutes venting about the mental plague.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know
Do
that.
people like when we get passionate about the negatives? I don't know. We spend a lot of
Probably.
time in positive land. I mean, I hope that we're a beacon of light in your day for an hour every week.
Yeah. Listen, the human experience is ups and downs, and occasionally Seth and I are gonna have some funny gripes with the industry that we're all in. And I think we can all relate at times.
Yeah, I
That
think for me, when those things come up, it's more of like a whoa.
yeah, like how do you get here? Because I want
How do you get
to
here?
reverse
Exactly.
engineer how to not get here.
How do you get here? How do you reverse engineer how to not get here? Me, you, listeners, because
Yeah,
that is not peace. Like life
no,
is not always fun, but like we can find and welcome joy somehow. We can control our environment physically and digitally to an extent where we can have peace.
yeah,
Am I sounding like a yogi? Like I don't mean to, or maybe I do, but just like you said, life's long. It's also too short to just be full of garbage.
yeah. I just picture our deathbeds at 95, and is anyone complaining about engagement at that point?
Maybe we'll be in the same hospital bed, and I'll look over. I'll hold my phone up like this, and as you're like taking your last breath, I'll click on follow.
And I'll go, fuck you, you Canadian fucker.
I take out my IV. I walk out of there. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll be so healthy because you're so young and
Oh my
spry.
goodness.
Um, yeah, man, I don't know. It's it reminds me of when, remember in high school, like people start experimenting with partying and drugs, drinking, whatever it is, whatever kids do these days, and most people get out alive. Most people like, I can dabble. That was fun. Don't need to do that all the time. But it always sucks in a couple that then go, whew, and you're like, uh-oh, for them. That's not good. They're going down the wrong way with this thing. And I think this is the same, it's the same sort of thing where it's like, some people can get away with having a drink every once in a while, and some people just can't. and it grabs them. And I think social media is, you can argue, is kind of the same thing. A lot of people can use it in a really healthy way and be able to separate it and put it down. And then there's some people, it becomes their entire persona and their entire existence. And that's when you see things like that, like, oh, the engagement on the photos that you were supposed to be super proud of yourself wasn't good enough. And it's ruined your day to the point where you have to write a paragraph about it. How Instagram's done you wrong because of your great work not being shown, instead
Yeah.
of just saying, just being like, that was a great experience. I love those photos. I'm going to print them. I'm going to make a book out of it. I'm going to,
Or
whatever
even
it
I wonder
is.
why. I wonder why this wasn't received as well as I thought it would be in my head, like the growth mindset. But
Yeah.
when you say, not my fault, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. They don't know what art is. You instantly you remove yourself from having to do any inward work, any introspection, any thought of how can this serve me moving forward? Oh,
And I
maybe
think,
what I like other people don't like, and that's okay. I'm gonna move on with my day. It was a great experience for me, like you said. Even the
yeah,
photos weren't, and I have that. Nobody else does.
it's a sick trend in all aspects of society where we've really swung the pendulum away from, I think, group care to self care.
Hmm.
And like, me, I want mine, to the point of like self love, unconditional love. It's not you, it's the other person. If they don't like who you are, they don't understand the true essence. In all of that messaging, there is no cry for, hey, take a look in the mirror. There's almost zero of it. It's kind of like, it's a very take it or leave it. And my way should be respected and validated by everyone else. No one should challenge anything that I believe. And if you do, you're an idiot politically. You're sexist, you're racist, any sort of challenge. And
Mm.
I don't mean oblique racism. That's obviously wrong. But what I'm saying is, if there's no ability to be challenged ever, there's no room to grow. There's no room to be accountable. There's no room to reflect and look in the mirror and
Mm.
go, it's as simple as, I really love those photos. They didn't go well, or I didn't get great. Maybe I'll try a different way, or maybe I'll change my caption, or maybe like growth mindset, like,
Or
oh, it
maybe I
didn't work
won't
out.
care.
Maybe, yeah, maybe like whatever it is. Or if you really want engagement, like maybe I need to present this at a different time, or maybe I should make a reel out of my experience. Maybe I should personally talk about my experience and how important it was and then share pictures. Like any sort of growth, like, hey, I tried, it didn't work out, but I'm going to try again, versus I tried and Instagram is the reason it didn't work out, period.
Yeah.
That's, there's zero growth there.
Yeah.
It's, you're automatically saying, no, I'm the best at photography. Instagram was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck. Good luck with that.
And where else does that show up is the scary part too. And the thing I think you and I talk about is you don't want all green lights in life.
No.
You really don't. Like if you're only used to green lights and feel like you only deserve green lights, when the inevitable red light comes, or in other words, failure or challenge or humiliation, that all happens to us from time to time, it ends up being catastrophic for
Yeah.
your psyche, for your sense of worth, because you've never dealt with it before. And
Yeah.
you need to welcome problems. You need to welcome feeling not good about yourself from time to time, because they're all chances to look inwards, change things, and improve things about yourself so you can have a more peaceful, joyful, fulfilling life. And when you say, not my problem, I deserve greatness always, you will always be stuck. You will.
Yeah.
And I
And
think this post we saw is just like a great catalyst for this conversation in case anyone needed that.
Yeah, and as we've said, where you're triggered signifies where you're not free. You know, like that epitomizes it. If engagement really triggers you, makes you feel a really certain way, maybe you should take a look at like, wow,
Yeah.
wow, my happiness is determined by engagement on an app that I have no control over.
I got to make some changes. Yeah.
I gotta figure this out because
Yeah.
I don't want to waste one more minute of my life, my short life, complaining about engagement. Are we serious here?
Yeah.
Time to look in the mirror.
That was a good soundbite. Hey, Larry.
Hillary.
Our lovely social media person. Okay. Well, I think that's enough. Enough of that. And
I want to do a whole episode on that.
we could. We were really fired up in text.
Yeah, I want to.
Maybe we weren't free there, huh? I wouldn't say we were like bothered by it. I was just like shocked. Anyways, something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're just noticing things. You could be an observer and be like, whew.
Yeah.
That's not for me.
It's true.
What is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a game on the show. What is that? You just read,
What is that?
You read crazy threads. Photographers.
I like that.
You can play that game right now.
Yeah. I love it. What is that? We need a theme song.
I'm going to open up threads and just like, what is that? What is that? That's so funny. You just open the Threads app and you're like, oh my God. When I open it, like once a month, I'm off it in like 5 minutes because I'm like, what is that?
What is that? Let's see.
Here's one. Here's a great one. What is that? You're not a bad photographer. You just live in a shitty area. It's a real thread from somebody. Holy.
Wow. 3,000 followers in the past 3 days. As a photographer, I am stunned.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Like this if you're a photographer. That's the thing with that platform, huh? It's just like, it is so obvious now that like you said, it's all about me. Like how many of those, let's all photographers of Threads, let's connect. Do you believe any of that?
No.
Do you believe any of that? Or is it more likely that everyone's kind of just like out for themselves? Am I turning into a cynic? I don't feel like one in my everyday life.
You're a realist. You're a realist, and you see past the I do nothing on Threads. I shouldn't say nothing, but close to nothing. And I get notifications. You have 40 new followers on Threads.
Right.
They know what they're doing, and there's a false sense of like, oh, people like my stuff. People like me again. Instagram's not rewarding me, but Threads is. Let me go over here and milk this cow until it's dry.
Yeah.
It's 100%. That's what all this is. That's what it is for me. It's about me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is. It's just, again, it's the vast. It's a bigger group than my high school example where you're like, those couple kids are going down a really bad path.
Yeah.
It's a bigger group where it's like, oh, this thing's smart. This social media network is smart. The people working there are smart, and they are sucking people's eyeballs in over and over and over and over. And this sense of fame, the sense of like, I'm making a name for myself. This sense of individuality too, where it's like, look around at the 1 million photographers around you that are doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
There's no professional sports where it's like there's 250 players in the whatever it is. There's no finite, like, you guys are the best. Just everyone thinks they're really special, which we're all special.
No, we're
But
not.
I said it sarcastically. We're all so special.
If everyone's special, no one is. If everything's great, nothing
And
is.
that's what it is. And that's what it is. But we're all walking around like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look how special I am. I didn't get enough engagement. This is bullshit today.
Right.
Wow.
Well, when you do, that means that you did make something special. Like if everything is special, nothing is.
Right.
If you're always winning, you're never winning. You know,
Right.
like winning in the sense of like if everything is always easy, something's going to come to a head.
Yeah. And I'm being realistic. There's skill that comes with photography. There's perseverance. There's effort.
Mm-hmm.
But my camera locks onto an eyeball of a hawk that's 100 yards away.
Yeah.
I press the button. I take that. You figure out how to edit. It takes time, but there's not like this is not training for a marathon. This is not training for the Marines. This is not learning how to play guitar. It's not. I'll die on that hill. It's not. I think you can get to a certain level, but to get the feeling of validity on social media from your photography, it's as if someone was playing guitar for 2 months and notoriety for it. Like legit. I think you could, if someone was passionate, you can hand them a professional camera and be like, hey, you have 2 months to do some wildlife stuff. And we had Taryn on in a year. She just got a $12,000 gig for doing photography within a year.
12,000?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Within a year.
Some people are like, how?
Now I'm not poo-pooing her skills at all. Great. But within a year, that's an impressive feat that I don't know in many other hobbies or passions you can get to that level professionally so fast.
Yeah.
So everyone enjoy it. Have fun. I guess my old, crinkly, sarcastic, cynical mood would just say, relax on the engagement, relax on the validity hunting. Do it to improve, do it to like it.
I was going to ask you, like, when we talk about socials, I think we do because it's a piece of this pie in today's world, and it's an easy way for photographers to share their stuff. I guess my question for you to end the show is, people listening week in and week out, when we do talk about socials, what do you hope kind of their, I don't want to say the relationship, because we're not telling people what they should or should not do. I guess, like, in your mind, what is the outcome? What is the takeaway you hope people receive? Like the general themes, your intent.
To me, a little background. I'm at the age where I had most of my young adult life. I think until about 29, I didn't even have a Facebook. I did not want it. I made one for John and I's guitar duo where you had to schedule on it and you needed a personal page to make a business page. That is the only reason I started in social media. Did not really use it, but for that. Instagram at 36 or 7, however old I was when I started, maybe 38 even, was for my golf stuff. And then I got into photography. So I've lived both lives. What I would say is I really equate it to drinking in a sense, where if you're sober your entire life, you might miss out on a lot of social things potentially that you would avoid or not do. And those potential things could be great networking, great opportunities to meet people, great experiences. Now, you can go and be very careful and not do it, but I'm just saying in general. Now, you can go to those drinking situations and it can get out of hand. It can go too far. It can become an addiction. It can become unhealthy for you. And that, I think, is the relationship that you just have to be aware of, that it's even a thing. I don't know if people know, like smoking was normal, then it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Alcohol is now trending in terms of people being sober, and like I don't need to be drinking quote unquote poison, and not quote unquote, I guess it is poison, and it makes me feel bad. I don't want that in my life. Like the trends ebb and flow. Cell phones are great. We throw them against our head. We talk on the phone all the time. In 10 years, 20 years, they might realize that was a horrible idea. And that completely gets squashed. And anyone that does it is like, oh, that's crazy. They're doing that. So social media, I think we kind of have these ideas, but there's not a lot of research that is known, that has been advertised as like, this is bad for you. There's no public service announcements that like, this is bad for you. And I think you can look around and go, oh, like, oh, that person uses it healthfully. They use it really nicely. It seems moderate. Moderation seems moderate. Seems like they're promoting their art. It seems like they dabble in it. Seems like they could disappear for a week and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And then there's certain relationships with it where you're like, this is so much time out of their day. Well, you know what it's like to make a video. You know what it's like to edit a photo. You know what it's like to create a story or film. And for every video that you see, there's probably 20 takes that weren't pleasing. Right? So it's like, you just start to realize the time that like, wow, this is this person's invested in this thing, which may or may not turn out to be really unhealthy. So I think the relationship is moderation, and that's what we would promote. It is important. It's nice. Socializing is nice. Having a beer with buddies is nice. Having 20 every weekend, maybe not so nice. Maybe relationships start to fall apart. Maybe real life relationships start to fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a definition of a more refined definition of addiction that I was looking at the other day, and I was like, that makes a lot better sense. A behavior that a person uses to relieve pain or discomfort in the short term, but leads to negative consequences in the long term. Yet the person continues to engage in the behavior despite negative outcomes.
Yeah. I think that might be perfect.
So I guess an example of this, we're talking about awareness, right? An example of this for social media, the endless scroll, the distraction, the validation, long-term anxiety, lower productivity, sleep disruption. Don't sleep with your phone. I started doing that. Life-changing. And yet still continuing to do it. So I think you're just talking about awareness. Just be aware.
Yeah. Be aware.
If you're feeling
Be
like
honest.
crap, ditch it. For a while anyways. That's enough on that.
Yeah.
I've had a good time talking with you.
I'm talked out. We
had 2 parts to this, it seemed like, so that's all right. And don't surround yourself with stuff that you don't need to surround yourself with. Control your environment to the best you can.
Yeah.
It means with people, it means with digital content. Just welcome peace into your life.
It's really nice. It's underrated.
Say no to stuff that doesn't serve you. Really. Till next time.
Take care.